All eyes have been on Jajarkot and Rukum West that have been the worst affected since last week's earthquake. Many high-ranking officials, including the Prime Minister and the President, have paid visits to the sites, which has received flag as the VIP visits shifted the much-needed focus on victims towards security and management of themselves instead, and the victims say the leaders too have not lived up to their promises of rescue and relief. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. President Ram Baran reaches earthquake-hit Jajarkot to take stock of the impacts, assures victims of consulting with the government to support their needs. Parties discuss on future course to address the plight of victims of the earthquake in Jajarkot and Rukum West. Also agreed to defend the state's achievements and democracy against external forces. Israeli Prime Minister says Israel will have overall security responsibility for Gaza once the fighting ends. Resists calls for a ceasefire but says shorter humanitarian pauses might be possible. And 8 matches slated for tonight at the Champions League. Borussia Dortmund up against English side Newcastle in the first match. President Ram Baran has reached the earthquake-hit Jajarkot to take stock of the impacts. He also checked about the status of those injured as he reached Jajarkot Hospital. The victims urged the president to support for treatment, food supply and for the reconstruction of their houses, among others. According to the president's press advisor Kiran Pokhrel, the president assured that he would consult with the government to facilitate for accommodation and food, among others. Chief District Officer Suresh Sunar had informed the president of the damages caused by the earthquake, while the doctors at the district hospital informed him of the condition of the victims. President Baran has also reached Khalanga, Ramidada, Nalgarh and Rukum West's Art Biscot to take stock of the rescue and relief works post-earthquake. The President was accompanied by Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister Purna Bahadur Khadka, Jajarkot's Provincial Assembly member and Chief of Army Staff. Most of the administrative and security personnel deployed in the earthquake-affected region had been pulled towards ensuring security for the President, which hindered the works related to relief distribution. Earthquake victims have expressed dissatisfaction towards the visits by Prime Minister, ministers and other VIPs that have affected relief distribution works. They say they have yet to receive relief materials and other support as pledged by many of the VIPs that visited their regions. Now, Karnali Province government has sent medicines sufficient for 500 individuals and a team of health professionals along with health equipment to take to the earthquake-affected districts of Jajarkot and Rukum West. The province government has said that medicines stored at the Province Supply Centre and health professionals who had been working at various health institutions have been sent to Jajarkot and Rukum West. The meeting of the Karnali Province's Council of Ministers held earlier today had decided to transport relief materials from Surkhet, Nepalganj and Dang. Likewise, Lumbini Province government also has sent medicines as well as a team of specialized doctors to Jajarkot. A team of 12 doctors led by the medical superintendent of Rapti Provincial Hospital, Padam Raj Adhikari, have gone to Jajarkot along with medicines and other relief materials. Sudur Paschim Province government has also decided to send a team of 20 doctors along with health equipment. The Ministry for Health has said that a team of 41 health professionals, including specialists, paramedics and staff nurses, have reached Jajarkot and Rukum West. The ministry has urged major hospitals of Kathmandu to remain well equipped. Likewise, Nepal Medical Council said that it is prepared to provide additional workforce to mitigate disaster impacts. Now, parties have concluded that they need to stand unified against external forces that are acting against the country's federalism, democracy and republicanism. This comes after an all-party meeting called by the Prime Minister today at Singha Darbar. The parties agreed that they must come together to protect the state constitution and achievements made through it and institutionalize republicanism and democracy. They all agreed that various forces had been negatively influencing the country's democracy, which the parties should defend. The all-party meeting also discussed on concluding the laws related to transitional justice and on the future course to address the plight of the victims in Jajarkot and Rukum West following last week's earthquake. Appointment of justices in the one-third posts that have remained vacant at the Supreme Court has remained subdued as members of the Judicial Council have been busy with foreign visits and have failed to reach a consensus regarding the recommendations. The number of justices at the Supreme Court that has a total of 21 designated posts, including the Chief Justice, has been limited to 14 as Justice Anil Kumar Sinha had retired on Thursday last week. Chief Justice, who is also the chair of the Judicial Council, Vishwamar Prasad Sresser, returned Nepal on Friday from his visit to China. Prior to this, member of the Judicial Council, Ram Prasad Bhandari, returned after almost a one-month-long visit to the USA. Another member of the Judicial Council and Minister for Law, Dhanraj Gurung, who had been on a visit to Australia, returned to Nepal and instantly left for US. The meeting of the Judicial Council has remained subdued for 1.5 months amid absence of its members. This has delayed the recommendations that has to be made for the appointment of justices. In the meantime, cases have piled up at the Supreme Court as justices have been retiring, after which their posts remain vacant. Among the 27,972 cases that are under consideration at the Supreme Court, 15,202 cases have continued for the past 2 years, while 4,281 cases that were filed 5 years ago have not yet finalized. The appointment of justices in all the vacant posts would allow to hold 10 joint benches on a daily basis. However, amid lack of 7 justices, 4 bench does not sit. Even if recommendations are made now for the appointment of justices, it will take a while for them to assume duties, as under the Article 129 of the Constitution, recommendations made by the Judicial Council has to be approved by the Parliamentary Hearing Committee and administer the oath of office and secrecy by the President. All services except emergency have been halted in Patan Hospital in Lalitpur. This comes as doctors say family members of patients have assaulted them. Recently, a 90-year-old elderly female of Okaldunga and 68-year-old male had died at the hospital on Saturday while being treated. Family members of the deceased patients had assaulted the doctors, accusing them of providing wrong medicines. The agitating doctors have said that they will not resume health services until those involved in the assault of doctors are arrested and legal actions are taken against them. The family members of the patients have said that the patient had died immediately after ceftriaxone was given to them. Doctors meanwhile say that there is no basis to the allegation. The hospital authorities have said that a police complaint has been filed against those involved in the assault of the doctors and that it would provide assistance to investigate the incident. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what should be the priority of the 16th five-year plan? Your options are A, create job opportunities, B, increase production, and C, sustainable development. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will have overall security responsibility for Gaza once the fighting ends for an indefinite period. Netanyahu said Israel would consider tactical little pauses in fighting in the Gaza Strip to let hostages leave or aid get through, but again rejected calls for a ceasefire despite international pressure. On the ground, Israel says it attacked Hamas targets in Gaza from the air, sea, and through the ground. Explosions were reported in the southern city of Khan Yunis, with pictures showing destroyed buildings. Gaza health officials say the Israeli assault has killed more than 10,000 Palestinians, including some 4,100 children. Both Israel and Hamas have rebuffed mounting calls for a halt in fighting. Israel says hostages should be released first. Hamas says it will not free them nor stop the fighting while Gaza is under attack. November 7 today marked 1 month since Hamas launched its attacks on Israel on 7th of October. Israelis across the country remembered the victims today. A moment of silence was held in Tel Aviv to commemorate the victims of the October 7th attacks on Israel and the hostages still held by Hamas. Large numbers of people gathered near Israeli flags and sang the national anthem after observing a moment of silence to remember the victims. Hamas militants stormed through Israeli communities near the Gaza Strip on Saturday, October 7th, killing 1,400 people, taking more than 200 hostage and sparking Israeli military action, which has cost thousands of lives in the enclave, according to Palestinian authorities. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, has called for an expansion of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip once again to prevent an even larger humanitarian disaster amid the escalating Israel-Hamas conflict. According to UNRWA spokesperson, the current aid allowed into the Gaza Strip represents a mere 6% of the previous daily supplies. The spokesperson also stated that efforts are underway to broaden the humanitarian supply route through Egypt in order to expand aid access to Gaza. Furthermore, the agency is exploring alternative land routes to facilitate the delivery of increased humanitarian supplies, including essential fuel, to the Gaza Strip. The Palestine Red Crescent Society has said since October 21, when its humanitarian aid was allowed to enter Gaza, only 476 trucks have arrived in the region, averaging about 30 per day. According to a report from the United Nations, the UNRWA-operated shelters in Gaza Strip have reported numerous cases of acute respiratory infections, skin infections, diarrhea and chickenpox. The refugee shelters are currently grappling with severe overcrowding and enduring extremely difficult living conditions. Now, more than 1,000 workers at an Amazon warehouse in central England were striking today as part of a long-running dispute over pay. The workers, who walked out of the US retail giant site in Coventry, also plan to strike on Wednesday and Thursday, as well as November 24th, which is Black Friday and a key date in Amazon's calendar. Workers at the Coventry site first went on strike in January. The latest action comes at the back end of a year that has seen wider industrial unrest in the UK as employees demand better wage rises to deal with high inflation. Amazon, which employs 75,000 in the UK, said last month that from October 15th, minimum starting pay would increase by at least £1 an hour to between £11.80 and £12.50, depending on the location. Pay rates will further increase to between £12.30 and £13 an hour from April next year. The company said the increases would cost it $209 million and mean its minimum starting pay will have risen by 20% in 2 years and 50% since 2018. Britain's government mandated minimum wage is £10.42 an hour for people 23 and over. Amazon has been feeling the pinch of unionization efforts globally. Last year, workers at Amazon warehouse in New York City voted to form the first union at the company. Now, residents in Lahore woke today to more toxic smog as air quality in Pakistan's second largest city remained at hazardous levels. Lahore's air quality index, AQI, was put at 348 on Tuesday. An AQI of 0 to 50 is considered good, while a reading above 100 is termed unhealthy for those with pulmonary issues. Anything between 301 to 500 is considered hazardous. Lahore was last week placed as the world's second most polluted city, according to a list compiled by Swiss group IQ Air, ranking just behind India's New Delhi. The government of Pakistani Punjab, of which Lahore is the capital, has made it mandatory for all students to wear masks to school, with police tags to catch smoke-emitting vehicles, as well as rice stubble burning, a practice farmers use to burn rice stalks left behind after harvesting to clear their fields for the planting of wheat. And moving on, the International Monetary Fund IMF, China's economy China's economy is set to grow by 5.4% this year, having made a strong post-COVID recovery, making an upward revision to its earlier forecast of 5% growth while expecting slower growth next year. Reading a statement in Beijing, IMF's first deputy managing director also said continued weakness in the property sector and subdued external demand could restrict gross domestic product growth to 4.6% in 2024, which was still better than the forecasted 4.2% contained in its World Economic Outlook. The upward revision followed a decision by China to approve a 1 trillion yuan, which is $137 billion, sovereign bond issue and allow local governments to front-load part of the 2024 bond quotas in a move to support the economy. The Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) has called 22 players for close camp training in preparation for the Hong Kong Women's T20 series. The list includes Soni Pakrin, who has been staging outstanding performance for the Bagmati team. The other members include Rubina Chetri, Sitarana Magar, Indu Verma, Bindu Rawal, Sangeeta Rai, Jyoti Pandey, Pooja Mahato, Roma Thapa, Ishwari Bista, Samjana Khadka and Robu Podar. Likewise, Sabnam Rai, Ashmina Karmacharya, Khushi Dangol, Kritika Marasini, Kanchan Shrestha, Somu Bista, Apsari Begum, Kajol Shrestha, Manisha Chaudhary and Kabita Joshi have also been included in the first phase closed camp training. The T20 series will be held between 15th to 19th of November. Nepal, Hong Kong, Japan and Tanzania are participating in the tournament. The women's team will be coached by Manoj Katwal. The Nepal versus Yemen match under FIFA World Cup qualifiers has been scheduled for November 21st. The match will kick off at 7 p.m. Nepal time in Dashrath Stadium, as informed by the All Nepal Football Association (ENFA) during a press conference in the capital today. Nepal is looking to take advantage of the generally hot weather that people in Yemen live in and the cold temperatures that will be felt during the match day. ENFA has allocated VIP tickets for the match at 1,000 rupees per ticket, while general tickets will be available for 400 rupees. The national team currently has 26 players, being led by head coach Vincenzo Alberto Anis. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.